Shalom, family. Glory be to God, and blessed be the Lamb, forever and ever. Preliminary matter. For those of you who have been with me from the beginning, what a ride we've had, huh? Who'd have thought, huh? You do realize you're not even the same you anymore. Not your thought processes, not how you view the world, but neither am I. A lot transpires in 6, 7 years, doesn't it? You've watched me grow, and I've watched you grow. I've watched myself become something that, as far as I'm concerned, is unfathomable from my perspective. At any rate, decisions. The decisions we make, the decisions we don't make, the decisions we put off, the decisions we don't want to make. Sometimes the truth can be brutal in this decision making process. Brutal. You know, years ago, I think it was in 2012, maybe even 2011. I woke up and I swung my legs out of bed, and the first words I heard were, "Are you ready?" I wasn't getting ready. No, I think it was, "Are you ready?" Boomed inside my head. It's, it scared the shit out of me, but I couldn't shake it. It led me to expecting anything at any moment. That's what it led to. That's what it led to. The second voice that would come to me a few months later. I mean, the second statement made by the same voice. And that voice said, "Will you sacrifice?" And my answer was everything. Everything. That was my answer. Hindsight is 2020. Now, to understand what I'm trying to say about the decisions, we have to start somewhere. So we're gonna start with me, in which I don't even want to talk about me. I try to avoid that. I think at this point, everything is pretty much self-explanatory as far as it goes, as I go, and you go. It started with that. Will you sacrifice? And my answer was everything. And Lord knows, He required everything. He required everything. And see, the first time that I lost, I like to think of it as I gave, but I'd be lying. No, it was taken. I'd be lying. No, I loved it. It was mine. I worked for it. I hustled for it. It's all mine. Damn it, mine. Yet, He required it. I didn't pay it no mind too much because I built it right back within 18 or 19 months. And then He took it again. That's when I realized you had an agreement. You would sacrifice everything. He just holding you up to your end of the agreement. Everything means everything. Okay, cool. Let that sink in. Things got so bad, man. At one point, I went through about Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, Denver, Colorado Springs. 7 cities in less than 3 months. 7 cities. And I should have listened to the demon up in Dallas when he said to me, "There's nowhere to run." He was right. There was nowhere to run. But that didn't, immediately stop me from running. And then things happened. I realized something. He was right. There's no way and nowhere to go. And I had said, you know, I offered resistance to this whole positions, much resistance. I went so far as to plead with them. He doesn't have an. So you mean to tell me that God doesn't have a replacement? No, he don't have a replacement. You didn't know, period. And I got upset. What what kind of plan at the highest levels of thinking don't have a plan B, don't have a replacement? That was one of the arguments I made. Not only that, not only that, I resisted this all the way up until the point I dared not resist anymore. There was a breaking point where I knew that now God's pissed off. You are starting to piss him off. At first it was cute because I was resisting for the right motive. I wasn't resisting because I didn't like God or nothing. No, I was resisting because I wasn't going to disrespect him. No, I want no part of this. Whatever you're trying to do, I really don't want any part of this. This was a discussion that was had with the angels. No, because if you're wrong, he's going to do bad things to me. This I know. This is up along the lines of the actions Lucifer did. What you're asking is blasphemy. you're asking you're asking me to trust you with a possible, because if you're wrong, then I am screwed. And so are you. So that was the second argument. This went on and on and on. And then in the midst of this, they were doing everything. When I say everything, everything. I mean, it was so much spiritual shit happening that, man, listen here. It was like living in a twilight zone. It was, or outer limits. It was very real. Very real. But at the moment that I knew that I could go no further, which I should have known before because a guard was posted at my front door. My front door had a curtain hanging over it, or was it an old sheet? May have been a sheet. It was green. And I woke up one morning, and in fact, I have the photograph on my phone. I woke up one morning, and there was this face in the curtain. Now, I didn't pay it too much mind. I put that off on the sun rising and the shadows and all of that. As the day went on, it was still there. Even when I picked the curtain up and draped it over damn door and dropped it back, it was still there. I would later find out that was their idea of letting me know that you're being guarded. Strange, huh? Nothing's getting in and nothing getting out. Not spiritually anyway. So it was around this same moment that God showed me how I was made, how he created me, how it all began. But uh, the final act where a decision had to be made, and this one wasn't. It was more like, I'm going to show you something, and I was way past wanting to see anything because I had already seen enough of this strange world that I'm in. I mean, I'm walking down there, but I'm up here at the same time, and I can see, man, it's getting weird. What's really happening? So, final stage right here. I'm in a room, what you call a room, but it didn't have any walls. No floor, no ceiling, no walls, no door. And I'm sitting in a chair. All around me is red. No matter where you look. I mean, what the old folks used to call scarlet, a deep red, rich red, scarlet. And it's everywhere. It's like in the air. It's a part of the atmosphere. And I remember, but it wasn't on me for some strange reason. And then I blinked. I remember blinking. And when I blinked, the red all around me from every direction, it came closer to me. And I noticed I'm still sitting in the chair. I don't know why I didn't even attempt to stand up and run off. But I blinked again and it came closer still. And I understood something at that very moment, that the next time I blink, this red is going to be all over me. And what happens next, I don't find out. And I said, okay, God, you win. You win. This one I know is you. This is above the this one is above the angelic pay grade here. Okay, you win. I got it. I got it. And that decision was made. There was no other left to make from the start. Which brings me to my next point. Sometimes we have to make decisions that hurt. We just do. Sometimes we have to make choices that we already know that beforehand it's not going to sit well with you. But you know what the right decision is anyway. Sometimes this can take us months and years to make a decision that was better made in those months and years long past. See? And sometimes the truth as to why you have to make these choices, that truth, it can be brutal. It can be brutal. That's a fact. When I was going from city to city, like I was a goddamn rock star, well, I was at a Greyhound station. It was a few people standing out front, and it was a bunch of folks standing out front doing what they do in front of a damn Greyhound station. And I'm inside. It's a couple of 3 or 4 of them folks inside, and on the counter is a Bible. A Bible. So I looked at the Bible and I looked at the people. I looked at the Bible and I looked at the people. Now, in my mind, no damn Bible should be left alone. So 10 minutes or so passed and I went and I picked the Bible up. I looked around and no one had said anything. But in hindsight now, later I would realize it was the people inside of there standing their asses around that had actually put the Bible there. That's not the point. Everything happens for a reason. In that Bible, they had used sticky notes and a pink marker and sometimes purple marker. And Lord, the scriptures that they had pointed out in that Bible had told my whole story. And it was brutal. I mean, a certain segment of my life anyway. And it was brutal. It was a no way out of the right decision that I should make. No way out of it. Yet I refused to make it. I refused to make it. This time it was out of commitment. It was out of commitment. I don't want to think that I was just operating against God's will, but God had already spoke on the matter. He had spoke on the matter. It was I who didn't want to accept the reality of neither his answer or his reasoning as to why he answered the way he did. Years later, I finally make the very decision that should have been made 6, 7 years ago. Now, what is the dilemma in all of this? You know how if I had made the same decision from the Greyhound bus station that was being shown me and not be, wow. I feel sorry for the guy. I mean, I feel sorry for what the old me had to go through. I feel sorry for what he had to endure. I really do. I mean that with all my heart. I really, really do. He did not deserve it. But it is what it is. He made the final decision or the right decision that could have very well ended his existence. Quite frankly, it was the last piece of what was that existed, and that is where he existed. Don't get me wrong, he still exists. It is me. But hypothetically, maybe, philosophically, maybe, you know what I'm saying. But the point that I'm trying to make is it took me almost 6 or 7 years, somewhere in there, to arrive at the same conclusion that God had already arrived at. See, God doesn't really tell me no about anything. He just brings me to his way of seeing things rather than tell me no. I mean, but there have been times, and his no's are final. There's no use in asking again. His no is final. But think of how much pain and despair and emotional response and input and output and anger that I could have bypassed if I just would have made the very same decision that I should have made 6 years ago, 7 years ago. That says a lot. That says a lot. Like I said, for me, it was a thing of commitment. I would hope that I wasn't being stupid. But then again, the other side of it is that it was man, some things just can't go with you. Some things move with you. Some things evolve with you. Some things grow with you. Those things that don't do those things, then unfortunately, no matter how much you care or love or obligated, there's just no room for it. And as a calculated decision, then the right decision will oftentimes cause pain, even your own. Even your own. So sometimes doing the right thing hurt more times than they don't. More times than they don't. So you think about that one. Decisions. I understood that, and I started understanding back in September where this is going. I'm gonna probably have to do this one alone. That's just how it is. And during the whole time I was becoming me, I kept saying, why me? I was launching protest after protest. I like to say it was in a bid to buy time, but I'd be lying. I flat out wanted no part of it. What you're asking me to do here and asking me to be, I'm just not really feeling it at all. Then they started forcing things on me as if the decision had already been made for me. Imagine this. Back in 2013 and 14 was when shit was wild. And I'm young at this. So really, the me that you know now ain't no more than 10 years old. You're still a child. Pretty much. It's a lot to take in, ain't it? He'd be about 10 years old in man years. Something to think about. Something to think about. But here's what I meant by they started forcing things on me, making me realize what I could do. For example, making me realize what alive is and what dead is, making me accept things that I couldn't unaccept, or there was no way out of accepting it because it just was. But if they'd have just not told me, it wasn't, none of this would have even been necessary if they'd have just not told me. So imagine every time you walk out your house, the wind start blowing. This is when I'm young. Every time you walk outside, the wind start blowing. Or if it's raining, it rain harder. Okay? Type of thing. Now, here's what that led to. Here's what that really led to. I thought God was mad at me. And for 2 months I was scratching my head. What have I done? It's horrible that you have unleashed the forces of nature upon me. Damn. What have I done? In my mind, I'm going back over every sin, every lie, every goddamn plan. I mean, because I was on these streets. So I'm going back in my head. What the hell? It ain't been recent. I've been good. I've been a good boy for the past 10, 12 years. I mean, what the hell? And then later it'll become, no, it's not quite what you think. You are it. It is you. It is saying hello to itself, so to speak. That kind of thing. And then I started asking to myself and to think. I resisted, but I could not move forward, but for a decision that had to be made. A decision that I understood even basically without God in it or either spirit or no spirituality, that this decision, there's no other one to make. And to not make it will only lead to more consternation, possible anger, words that don't need to be said and probably shouldn't be said, things like that. So the decision had to be made. And I understood that once I make it, then it is permanent and that there is no going back. There's no turning around. And everything that comes from it, a part of that decision. Wow. The power of man, huh? The power of man. Another sacrifice. Let's hope that this will be the last sacrifice needed to get us where we're going. It was the final albatross around my neck that I didn't want to cast off. All the rest of them were quite easy, actually. Were quite easily. This one, on the other hand, at any rate, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes men have to make decisions. Women too. But when I talk about men and you don't know how to get that I'm talking about women, well, like I said earlier, these are your daughters. Oh, okay. These are your daughters. You talk to them. If they need further understanding, you do it. My life will be forever altered because of this decision, and the lives of others will be forever altered, well up into the teens of years, at the very least. It is why I didn't want to make it. I understood this, that once this decision is made, it is final. It's final because to attempt to undo it may enrage God himself. You know what I'm saying? So it can't be undone. Wow. Well, It is what it is. It is what it is. I've made lots of decisions in life. Lots. I've made lots of decisions about the lives of other people. Lots. I have to bear the responsibility of every decision I make. It's that simple. There's no way out of that. No way out. I'll tell you guys what. Over the next few months, or the next few years rather, a lot of change is going to happen. It's not because necessarily anyone causing or not causing it. It's just what's in the cards. It's what is written. It's what will be. There's simply no way out of it. It's not any way out. So the final decision of most of you will be where you stand. Where you stand in all of this. And there's a whole lot of this. The Bible said that these generations are a generation for this moment in time. The Bible speaks of it, this generation, and you're it. You're it. And as individuals, you have to make decisions. This was a big one. Huge. Huge. And like I said, you should know that I understand you. Hell, I tried to fight it as much as I could. And I know how to fight. I know how to, I get an angel's hell. Trust me. I, I can give the angels hell. I mean, not bad hell, but in them they're trying to convince me or make me do something that I may not necessarily agree with. Well, hey, I will leave them tongue tied and twisted because I know that they can't hurt me. They can do everything else, but they can never cause me harm. No matter how mad I make them, how much I frustrate them, you can't hurt me. Daddy said so. And go on about your business now. Go on. Go on now. Shit. Leave me be. The answer is no. Which was stupid. Listen, at the age of 6, I was already leaving my body. At the age of 6, you call it, what they call it now, out of body? Shit. At the age of 6, I was already doing that. At the age of 7, I had mastered it. I had mastered it. But at the age of 6, it was horrifying. I did it purely accidentally. And I felt like a balloon. I felt like a helium balloon on the ceiling, looking at my body sleep on the bed. I was horrified. I was horrified. I like to tell you that I was brave, but I was not. No, I was quite horrified as I tried to fight my way down the wall, and I felt helpless. I don't know how long that lasted, but then I just zoomed and I was back in my body. And I sit straight up. And I swore to God that I'd never go to sleep again. I swore to God I'd never go to sleep. If this was sleep mean, man, I'd just stay up there. This went on and on. When I was almost 7, I had pretty much mastered it. Now I could leave my body and I could control where this consciousness went. I didn't just float. I didn't just float. It was a whole new thing. But around that same time, I learned something, that there are dangerous things in that realm. I didn't realize it was a realm until later that I was accessing. No, there are bad things in there. Later on, I remember around 7 years old, getting ready to, about 7, because I went to Rose's Academy. Miss Rose was one stern Christian lady as a teacher, and she didn't mind hitting you at all. She didn't mind hitting you at all with rulers, yardsticks, the back of her hand. She didn't care. But I moved the consciousness up the hallway, and I passed my dad putting his lunch in his lunch kit. I passed my mom out of my dad's work shirt for the morning. They had the back door open because it was cool outside. So I decided that I would do something stupid that I didn't realize was stupid then. But a boy, I went to the doorway, and outside of the doorway, this was on Carver Road, at 6518 Carver Road. There was a barbed wire fence, and on the other side of the barbed wire fence, there was horses and cows. And so while I'm standing there looking at the horses and cows in that conscious state, I made the mistake of like stepping, or what you would think of as a step outside. And then these two other consciousnesses appeared on either side of me. They tried to grab me. In fact, they did take control of me. But somehow I wrestled away, and I zoomed back up the hallway and back in my room and back up the wall and then back in my body. That's how long this kind of stuff been going on. So the signs were always there. Always there. And there was no way out for me. Once certain memories came back, it was over. There was no way out. And I had to be me. Once had no other way out. Now we're here. Now we're here. Decision after decision after decision after decision. The decisions we make. The decisions we make. So, God allows us latitude to make these decisions. I don't know why. You're not that bright. I wouldn't give you such space. See what mankind's decisions have led to, don't we? So on that part of the argument, I would tell God that we both know it, but I'm more than half right on that one. I was right about some other things too, about mankind and why they were unworthy of God's love. I was right. I was right. And the other angels were also right. They were right and I was right. But then comes the big but, the big rub. And before you understand, put aside his mercy as something that should just come. No, the argument against you was very strong and found righteous. And the argument had consisted of, we should destroy them, period. Destroy them. They have proven with their own free will the situation. The promises have been made. Decisions, again, not me making them, but God making them. Decision. You were so bad, and we were so right, and strong in our belief in our arguments against you. The angels went to God and said, two of our ranking out angels went to God and said, God, we know that you are the knower and the seer of all things. And anything that we say here, you already know. There's nothing here that we can say that we don't understand that you already know. The cries upon the earth and the sin and wickedness upon the earth at the hands of mankind have reached fever pitch. Why don't you let us go down upon them? Let us go down upon them and do what we do, right this situation. And they said this with the most respect that any angel could muster towards a god. Think of their wings up as far back as they can get them, and their heads bowed when they say this. And their heads bowed. And God said, no, you see what I see. And I know you see what I see. And the answer is no. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's mercy. He didn't say the angels were wrong in their argument, did he? No, he said that you right in your argument, but your plan to right the situation wasn't one of his liking, which was pretty much just sling and bang until everything is either dead or been too scared to say anything about anything, to anything. At any rate, folks, I hope you gained something from this. Decisions. There are decisions to be made here. And while I can't give you an exact time, an exact date, I can tell you this. When certain things happen, then the decision-making process will be over. So once you take the time to choose, that's all I'm saying. What's coming is coming. Ain't no way out of it for nobody or no thing. Not the living and not the dead. That's just how it is. So make your choices wisely. Make your choices in an educated manner. At this point, what your choice is kind of secondary to the fact of you choosing. We just want you to choose. That's all. Be it left or be it right. Be it righteousness or be it darkness. Be it life or be it death. We all have these preferences that we live by or we believe in. So that's not important. What is important, though, is that you choose. I am Source. I am Seven. I am One. Enjoy the rest of your evening.